There comes a moment in every life when you face a brutal decision. Remain tethered to the fading echoes of who you used to be, stuck in a fog of doubt, weakness, hesitation, and worn-out habits, or dare to set fire to that old version and rebuild from the ashes. No one will swoop in to do it for you. No mentor, no friend, no miracle is coming. It's you or no one. The road to reinvention has never been smooth. Real change doesn't arrive in silence. It crashes through your life, loud, raw, and demanding. It doesn't ask for comfort, it demands courage. Only those who are bold enough to destroy what no longer serves them are capable of building something truly extraordinary. Picture yourself standing at a crossroads. One path is familiar. It's worn down by years of repeating the same routines, dragging the same regrets, clinging to old relationships that never nurtured your growth. It's the road where every opportunity is met by your own internal resistance, where your voice shrinks and the light in you dims just a little more each time. But beside it lies another path, an unfamiliar one. It's unclear, unlit, and uncertain, but it holds something the old one never could. The chance to finally become who you were meant to be. To walk it, you must let go. Let go of the past, the shame, the heartbreaks, the guilt, the echo of missed chances. If your hands are still grasping the chains of yesterday, how can they possibly reach out to grasp tomorrow? That past you keep revisiting, that inner cage, is made from moments that no longer have power unless you keep giving them life. You don't need a perfect ending. You don't need an apology. You don't need someone to return and say, "I was wrong," for you to find closure. You only need one choice to stop waiting. The freedom you seek will never come wrapped in someone else's validation. The keys were always in your hands. And when you finally decide to leave your old self behind, do it completely, not halfway, not with one foot still in the doorway of yesterday. Burn the bridge. Burn every tie that holds you to the timid version of yourself, the one who retreated, who doubted, who abandoned their potential for comfort or approval. That version no longer deserves to lead your life. Of course, you will lose people on this path. Some won't understand the version of you that refuses to shrink anymore. Some will doubt, criticize, or silently root against you, not out of hate, but because your growth reminds them of everything they've avoided. But their reactions are not your responsibility. Your only obligation is to build the most unshakable, honest, powerful version of yourself. And that begins not with grand declarations, but with your daily habits. Waking up with purpose, feeding your mind with strength, eliminating distractions, refusing to indulge in toxic loops. Words like, "I'm not enough," or "I always mess up," must be removed like weeds. Replace them with new truths. I am growing. I am choosing strength today. It may seem small, these changes in thought, these quiet shifts in routine, but they are bricks in the foundation of a life that will not crumble. Don't let anything drag you back. Not a memory, not a place, not even a song that echoes the voice of your former self. That social media account you still follow in secret? If it pulls you back into darkness, cut it off. You cannot rebuild while you're still trying to resuscitate what's meant to be buried. This is not about tweaking the old. You are rebuilding from the roots, from how you think to how you breathe to how you walk into a room. Every detail must match the version of you that you are becoming, not the one you've outgrown. And there will be tests. The past has a strange way of knocking again. Old faces, old cravings, old stories. But when they come, remember, you've already crossed the line. The bridge is gone. There is no way back, only forward toward a future you're sculpting with discipline, intention, and integrity. You are no longer the same. You are evolving. You are not defined by what you endured. You are reborn by how you responded to it. Take the step. Walk forward without glancing back. The reward for your bravery is not just survival, it is resurrection. There's a deeper truth, one many avoid because it cuts too close. The greatest transformation in your life will not be witnessed by a crowd. It will be forged in solitude. Not because solitude is punishment, but because in the silence, you return to yourself. You begin to hear again. Hear the voice that the world drowned out with noise, distraction, and the pressure to conform. Alone, you begin to see what's truly yours and what was never meant to be carried. Society tells you to stay connected, to stay visible, to keep performing. But the most powerful growth happens not in the spotlight, but in the dark, in the quiet decisions, in the uncelebrated efforts, in the refusal to abandon yourself. Think back. Was it really being alone that frightened you? Or was it the confrontation with your own thoughts, the realization that parts of you remain unhealed, that without others to mirror or distract you, you're forced to face what you've been avoiding? But healing cannot happen if you're always turning away. You must look directly at the wounds. You must name them. Only then can you reclaim your power. Walking alone is not a weakness, it's a declaration, a claim of sovereignty. When you can walk forward without applause, without permission, without a hand to hold, you've entered the rare space of true transformation. You stop shrinking to make others comfortable. You stop abandoning your dreams because someone else didn't understand them. You no longer need to explain yourself. You walk in alignment with your own truth, and that, more than anything, is freedom, the kind that can't be taken, the kind that radiates not from what you say, but from who you are when no one's watching. In this solitude, your mind sharpens, your intuition returns. You become a force of stillness in a world of chaos. You become a leader, not of others, but of your own inner world. This doesn't mean you need to cut everyone off or live in isolation, but it does mean you must learn to stand tall without leaning on others. You must build a space, both mentally and physically, that is free of noise, free of distraction, free of contamination. Because strength isn't found when life is easy. It is discovered when the only person left to rely on is yourself, and you still rise. You still move forward. You still believe. People may not understand your transformation. Some may mock it, others may walk away. Let them. They're not wrong, they're simply not ready. Not ready to see someone choose the path they feared to walk. Let go of the need to be understood. Let go of the need to please. Solitude, once embraced, becomes the ultimate freedom. It grants you clarity, purpose, and above all, the space to fully become. When you truly change, you don't need to announce it. The world will feel it. Your presence becomes a message louder than words. As you shape yourself, habit by habit, thought by thought, you will discover something profound. You are the strength you've been searching for. And when others see it, they will not be inspired by what you said, but by the quiet, unwavering presence you built in silence. Weakness is not a flaw. It is the accumulation of easy choices made over and over again. It's found in those moments where you opt for comfort over growth, delay over action, numbness over clarity. And the most dangerous part? It doesn't scream. It whispers. It seduces. It tells you to stay where it's safe, even as your soul longs for something more. The comfort zone may not look threatening, but it is the most deceptive prison, a cage built not of steel, but of habits. And every day you stay in it, you reinforce the bars. No one becomes a warrior in comfort. Strength isn't given. It is forged, beaten into shape by resistance. You want to become resilient? Then step outside the zone, step into the uncertainty, and keep walking, even when every instinct tells you to turn back. That's where strength is born. Not in perfection, but in persistence. The mind is where weakness begins, in the phrases you whisper to yourself. I'll do it later. I'm not ready. Maybe next week. These aren't just words, they're commands. Repeated often enough, they become beliefs, and beliefs shape your entire reality. Procrastination isn't laziness. It's a signal to your brain that avoidance is acceptable. That fear wins. But fear is not your enemy. It's a compass. If something scares you, it's often the exact thing you need to face. There is no right moment. There is only now. The moment you're reading these words, the moment your heart whispers, maybe it's time. That's your opening. Take it. Start now. Not because it's easy, not because you're ready, but because change doesn't come by waiting. It comes by choosing. Every limitation that has ever existed in your life was first born in your mind, not in your circumstances, not in your past, not even in the opinions of others. The root of every ceiling is a belief you absorbed, accepted, and repeated until it calcified into a personal law, unchallenged, unexamined, and yet completely ruling the way you live. But the truth is, beliefs are not fixed. They are programs, codes you inherited from your environment, your upbringing, your setbacks, your failures. They were installed without your permission and run silently in the background, convincing you of false limits, making you feel less than what you actually are. You can have incredible potential and still be trapped by a mindset that tells you you're not enough. You can be brilliant and still believe you're broken. But just as these beliefs were learned, they can also be unlearned. Your mind is not a cage, it is a system, and systems can be rewritten. To transform your life, you must first break into the very code of your own thinking. Every thought you repeat is a line of instruction to your subconscious. If that instruction is, "I'm not ready," your subconscious listens. If it's, "I always fail," it adjusts your behavior accordingly. And the tragic part is, these beliefs rarely come from truth. They come from memory, from being mocked, from that one moment you failed and never forgave yourself, from the voices of people who never saw your worth and made you believe you had none. But who gave them the authority to define you? Who said they were right? Most of the time, you've never stopped to ask those questions. You've just repeated the same story until that story became your reality. It's time to stop. Reboot your mind. Scrutinize every belief. Who planted it? When? And more importantly, how long will you keep living by it? Reprogramming the mind is not a flash of lightning. It is the slow, steady dripping of new truth. Day after day, choice after choice, word after word. Every time you say, "I can improve," you rewrite. Every time you take action, even when afraid, you rewrite. Every book you read, every piece of content you absorb, every voice you listen to, they are all shaping your subconscious. You cannot think like a warrior while soaking in fear, drama, and self-doubt all day. You cannot build a wealthy, disciplined mind if your environment is saturated with excuses, gossip, and comfort. The first step is to cut the poison, eliminate the noise. Every time you hear negativity, every time you engage in conversations that drain you, every time you replay words that belittle your worth, you are feeding the virus, not the vision. From this moment forward, become ruthless about what you allow to enter your mind. Filter everything: words, people, content, environments. Speak to yourself with belief, not doubt. Say, "I am disciplined," not "I'm trying to be." Say, "I am changing," not "I hope I will." Your subconscious doesn't need evidence. It needs repetition. It believes whatever you feed it consistently. If you want different outcomes, then change the internal script. Not tomorrow. Now you've lived under an old mindset for too long. It doesn't matter how many years it ruled you. This is the moment you begin the rewrite. Through your morning routines, through the way you respond to struggle, through the decisions you make when no one is watching. Over time, your reprogrammed mind will become your engine. Silent, automatic, and unstoppable. Understand, you are not the victim of your past. You are the architect of your future. But the blueprint must begin in the mind. That is where identity is formed. And if your identity remains tied to a version of you that is tired, doubtful, lazy, and undisciplined, then no matter what goals you chase, they will collapse under the weight of your mental contradictions. Every day you must act as the version of yourself you're building, not the one you're trying to escape. From the moment you open your eyes to the moment you close them, align your habits with that version. If that version is focused, then you eliminate distractions. If that version is powerful, then you do not indulge in self-pity. If that version is driven, then you stop waiting for motivation and start moving regardless of how you feel. Your results are never shaped by how inspired you were, but by how aligned you stayed. But alignment cannot survive in a toxic environment. If you're still surrounded by those who mock discipline, who glorify victimhood, who delay progress under the mask of comfort, you will be pulled back. Quietly, subtly, but surely. And the dangerous part? It won't always feel like sabotage. It may come in the form of a loved one with good intentions, a friend who doesn't want to lose you to success, a colleague who jokes about your goals, But intentions mean nothing if their energy depletes your drive. Every interaction is either reinforcing the path you're on or derailing it. You must begin to audit your environment with the same seriousness as your habits. Because not everyone deserves access to your time, your energy, or your vision. Some people darken the room simply by entering it. Some conversations, though well-meaning, are nothing more than traps disguised as concern. You must protect your space, not out of arrogance, but out of deep self-respect. Growth requires boundaries. It requires you to outgrow people, places, and patterns that once felt like home. And yes, it will hurt. You will miss them. You will question yourself. You'll wonder if you're being too harsh, too distant, too serious. But let me be clear. Growth is not cruelty. Growth is clarity. You don't leave people behind out of malice. You do it because your vision finally became louder than your fear of disappointing them. And if someone cannot celebrate your evolution, if someone makes you feel guilty for wanting more, then they were never holding your hand. They were holding you back. You must give yourself permission to walk away. Not because you don't care, but because you finally care enough to prioritize your future, to stop bending so others can stay comfortable, to stop lowering your light just so others won't feel insecure. From today, you don't need anyone's permission to move forward. You only need your own. And when you do, when you deliberately sever ties with negative influence, something miraculous happens. Clarity returns. Your energy lifts. Opportunities appear that were always there, but you couldn't see them through the fog of distraction. You realize it was never a lack of time, discipline, or talent. It was noise. Just too much noise that didn't belong to you. When that noise clears, you see the path you were always meant to walk. And with it comes a kind of sacred seriousness, a fire in your eyes, a strength in your voice. Because you're no longer asking, you're deciding. You're no longer doubting, you're building. Every successful person you admire, every high performer, every great leader, they aren't fueled by inspiration. They are fueled by discipline, by consistency, by the quiet repetition of the right habits long after motivation has died. Their success is not a miracle. It's a system, built from choices made in silence. Early mornings when no one clapped, repetitions when no one noticed, tasks completed without reminders. These are not magical people. They are people who mastered structure, who built their life around non-negotiables. They don't wake up early because it's trendy. They do it because they've trained themselves to understand the value of every morning minute. They don't read because they feel like it. They do it because it's who they are. Integrity is their identity. Effort is their language. Excellence is their habit. And habit is everything. Not the glamorous kind, the gritty kind, the kind that feels mundane, even boring, but compounds into something unstoppable. Most people look for dramatic transformation, but true transformation doesn't announce itself. It builds quietly, choice by choice, day by day. Your life is not shaped by what you occasionally do when you're motivated. It is shaped by what you repeatedly do when you don't feel like it. Every time you stick to your system, you are sending a signal to your brain. This is who I am now, not who I wish to be, not who I hope to become, who I already am. And your brain, once convinced of that, will do everything in its power to protect that identity. That's why your systems matter more than your goals. Anyone can set a goal. Few have the structure to reach it. And if your habits don't match your dreams, the dream will die. Not because it wasn't possible, but because the foundation wasn't strong enough to hold it. You cannot chase strength while sleeping in. You cannot demand greatness while compromising the basics. But if you want to change, truly change, then don't start with your vision board. Start with your bedtime. Start with your screen time. Start with your morning routine. That's where the new self is formed, not in fantasy, but in the real-time construction of your life systems. And don't worry about being perfect. Worry about being consistent. You will miss a day. You will fail a rep. You will fall short. But discipline is not about never slipping. It's about never skipping twice. The moment you break a promise to yourself, repair it the next day. One mistake is human. Two becomes a pattern. And patterns are what build identity. So protect your patterns. Guard them with your life. Not because they're easy, but because they are the scaffolding for everything you're trying to become. You cannot master your life if you cannot master your emotions. That is a truth most ignore, clinging to the illusion that discipline can coexist with impulsivity. But no structure, no goal, no ambition can survive long under the tyranny of an untrained emotional state. Emotion, while deeply human, is not meant to govern your actions. It is meant to inform them. And if you continue to act based on how you feel in the moment, if your days are dictated by whether you're inspired, tired, angry, bored, or discouraged, then your life will always remain unstable, a fragile thing moved by every breeze. True power begins when you separate emotion from action, when you can stand in the storm and still move forward, not because you feel like it, but because you've trained yourself to honor commitment over mood. That is not repression, it is maturity. It is the moment you take the wheel back from the child within you, who only acts when it's easy. Maturity isn't smiling through the pain, it's doing the right thing despite it. It's rising even when you feel broken, choosing clarity even when you're clouded, and returning to your path even when you've strayed. To master emotion, you must first develop awareness. And awareness is not just knowing what you feel, but questioning what it demands from you. Does this anger require a reaction? Does this fear deserve to control my next decision? Should this disappointment delay my discipline? Most people don't ask. They react. They explode. They give in. But emotion is not a command, it is a signal. It's your body's way of saying something matters. But it's your mind's responsibility to choose the response. Imagine treating each emotion as data, not instruction. Anger can highlight violated values. Fear can signal areas where more preparation is needed. Jealousy may point to unfulfilled desires. When viewed without panic, even your darkest feelings can become guides. But only if you pause. Only if you ask the better question, will acting on this bring me closer to the person I want to become? If the answer is no, you already know the choice. Real emotional mastery is not coldness. It's clarity. It's a refusal to be dragged through the mud by every internal wave. It's standing firm when others collapse, choosing steadiness when the world spins. And then, beyond emotion, there is the ultimate truth, the raw, uncomfortable reality that shapes all transformation. No one is coming to save you. There is no mentor, no partner, no opportunity, no divine timing that will pull you out of your fog if you are unwilling to stand up on your own. The hand you're waiting for is your own. That's not tragedy. It's liberation. Because when you stop expecting rescue, you begin building resilience. When you stop hoping someone will fix it, you start becoming the person who can. Self-reliance is not isolation. It is self-respect. It is no longer outsourcing your power, no longer handing the keys to your life to someone else. It's knowing that even if no one claps, even if no one agrees, even if no one helps, you will still move forward. That kind of self-trust is rare, and that's why it's powerful. Because when you know you can rely on yourself, you stop begging the world to approve of your direction. You simply walk. You walk with clarity. You walk with certainty, and others, confused at first, eventually step aside, because no one can stop someone who knows exactly where they're going. But this path isn't glamorous. It won't be filled with celebration or validation. It's a quiet journey of becoming. You'll have to build in silence, act in solitude, choose progress in darkness long before the spotlight ever turns your way. And that is what separates the strong from the ordinary. Most people wait. They wait to feel motivated, wait for someone to notice their pain, wait for a sign to act. But those who transform, those who rise, understand that action creates motivation, not the other way around. They don't wait for clarity. They create it with motion. They don't ask for a roadmap. They start walking. And step by step, they carve a path where none existed. This is the nature of becoming unshakable. You stop treating effort as optional. You stop assigning meaning to how you feel. You start behaving like the person you are becoming. And when that becomes your default mode, when action no longer depends on feeling, you become unstoppable. Not because life gets easier, but because you become so consistent that life has no choice but to yield to your rhythm, and you will face pain. That is inevitable. Everyone does. But how you respond to it will define everything. Pain can torment you, or it can shape you. It can leave you bitter, broken, and shut down, or it can awaken something stronger, something deeper than comfort ever could. Pain is not the enemy. Pain is the forge. It is the crucible where weakness is burned away and true strength is revealed. Think about it. Your most powerful insights, your greatest awakenings, didn't come when things were easy. They came when you were hurt, betrayed, exhausted, or defeated. But you survived. You're still here. And that means the pain did not destroy you. It refined you. That scar on your heart? That was where your old self cracked open so something wiser could step through. If you stop running from pain, if you stop labeling it as unfair or undeserved, you'll begin to see it as the mentor it's always been. Because pain never lies. It shows you what needs to change. It shines a light on what must be let go. It strips away illusion and exposes what truly matters. You don't have to enjoy it, but if you're willing to endure it, to sit with it, to learn from it, you will become a person no setback can destroy. That's what resilience really is. Not feeling fearless, but continuing anyway. It's dragging yourself up when your soul is tired. It's honoring your promise to yourself even when your spirit is aching. It's looking at your reflection and saying, not today. I will not give up today. And every time you do, you add another layer to your identity. You go from fragile to grounded, from dependent to decisive, from passive to powerful. And one day, without warning, you'll notice that the things which used to break you no longer faze you. You'll realize that you are now the person you once admired. Not because of a miracle, but because you chose again and again not to abandon yourself. That's what makes someone undefeatable. Not the absence of hardship, but the refusal to let hardship define them. And when you live like that, when you rise every time life tries to bury you, you don't just inspire others, you free them. You become proof that it's possible. But there's another level, one most people never reach. It's the level where you stop needing to prove anything at all. You no longer seek applause. You don't care if people notice. You don't move to impress. You move because you become aligned. Your actions match your values. Your behavior mirrors your vision. Your discipline is no longer a tool. It is your nature. At that level, even silence becomes power. You don't need to broadcast your next move. You don't need to announce your goals. You build in the dark, and the results speak louder than any explanation ever could. That's not secrecy. That's sacredness. That's protection. When you act in silence, you shield your energy. You avoid interference. You stop inviting unnecessary voices into your process. And in that quiet, you multiply your focus. You protect your rhythm. You grow deeper than distraction allows. And in that silence, something even more rare emerges. Inner peace. Not the peace that comes from comfort, but the kind that comes from conviction. You stop comparing. You stop doubting. You stop rushing. Because you know you're on your own path. You know that consistency will deliver more than intensity ever could. And while others burn out trying to go faster, you build with patience. You build with strength. You understand that greatness doesn't come from noise. It comes from direction, from protecting your energy like gold, from choosing where to invest your time, your focus, your presence. You begin to say no more often, no to distractions, no to pointless battles, no to people who drain. Not because you're better, but because your vision is too important to be diluted. And as your vision sharpens, so does your structure. You stop living randomly, you build systems, you protect your mornings, you eliminate negotiation, you say, this is who I am, this is what I do, and I do it whether I feel like it or not. That's how you build a life that cannot be shaken. Not through inspiration, but through repetition. Not through passion, but through preparation. You don't rely on feelings, you rely on patterns. You don't rely on goals, you rely on systems. And those systems free you. They allow you to conserve willpower. They eliminate doubt. They create freedom. Not the freedom to do whatever you want, but the freedom to do exactly what you need. And at last, you reach the place you were always moving toward. The place where your old self no longer has power over you. The place where you walk differently, not because of arrogance, but because of assurance. The place where you no longer speak about change, you embody it. You no longer have to convince anyone, you just live. And that life, that presence, that energy becomes your final message. I have been reborn. You are not performing anymore. You are not pretending. You are not hoping. You are being clear, still, focused. This is not the end of your journey. It is the beginning of a new one. The version of you that once felt small, unsure, fragile, that version no longer holds the reins. You have stepped into your power, and from here forward, the question is no longer, can I? It is, how far can I go? That is the true transformation, not a single moment, but the accumulation of thousands of silent victories. The time you woke up when it was hard, the time you trained with no motivation, the time you said no when no one would have blamed you for saying yes. All of those decisions were bricks, and now you are living in the structure they built. From today, you are no longer defined by the past. You are not waiting for validation. You are not waiting for someone to open the door. You are walking through it because you built it. Every minute you live in alignment with this self, you are planting seeds for a future more radiant than you once believed possible. And when you doubt, when you forget, when the old patterns come knocking, pause, breathe, and remember who you are now. You are the fire. You are the architect. You are the proof. And from here, a new era begins.